Welcome to MCTV Sports. I'm Roma Caffini.
And I'm Paige Krikorian.
And we're going to start today's show off with some hot takes.
After this past week's Thursday night football match between the Seahawks and the Cardinals, we were left wondering, what is the benefit of a Thursday night game? The Seahawks prevailed 22-16, but the loss of Richard Sherman overshadowed the win. The shutdown corner is done for the season after rupturing his Achilles. Seahawks wide receiver Doug Baldwin, clearly frustrated with Sherman's injury, went on to say after the game, quote, "Thursday night football should be illegal," end quote. Various other players around the league have voiced similar feelings. Players have argued that their bodies are simply not physically ready to play on a short week, as many feel they need time to recover. After this past game, I have to agree with them. Also, I say football should not be played on Thursday night. Playing a game on a short week is too demanding. The league can't afford to keep losing big-name athletes every week. Add in the gruesome travel schedule, teams that play on Thursday get the short end of the stick. I also think that the excitement of football has been lost. With games on Monday, Thursday, and Sunday, there seems to be a game all the time. I mean, the NFL literally has a day of the week dedicated to the game on Sunday. Additionally, the ratings for Thursday night games have been up and down, depending on who is playing. The players are unhappy, the ratings are inconsistent, and 3 days a week dedicated to football is too much. The league needs to reconsider their stance on Thursday night football because clearly it is not in everyone's favor.
The well-renowned Ball family is making headlines this week, but unfortunately for the wrong reasons. The UCLA basketball team is headed home to Los Angeles from China without star freshman LiAngelo Ball, who is accused of shoplifting and is being detained in the country. And it may be a while before Ball rejoins them, as new evidence in the case has surfaced. ESPN is reporting that there is surveillance footage of Ball and fellow UCLA freshman players Jalen Hill and Cody Riley shoplifting from 3 stores inside a retail center near the team hotel in China. The players have spoken with police and are currently confined to their hotel while the investigation continues. China's justice system moves slowly, but its conviction rate is extraordinarily high at 99%, and the penalties are often stiff. The players could face up to 10 years in prison. LeVar Ball has been quoted in the incident saying it, quote, "isn't that big of a deal," but the details tell otherwise. Look for more to come on this story in the following days.
With the college football season entering the final weeks, it's time to start thinking about the potential Heisman. Up until this past week, there was no clear winner. Some of the popular names of late have been Penn State running back Saquon Barkley, Ohio State quarterback J.T. Barrett, Stanford running back Bryce Love, and Notre Dame running back Josh Adams. But after this weekend, someone has emerged from the crowd. To me, the most powerful, explosive offense comes from Sooners quarterback Baker Mayfield, who is my pick for the 2017 Heisman Trophy. The senior QB is slowly engraving his name onto that trophy. Mayfield Sooners rocked TCU this past weekend, cementing their place in the Big 12 Conference. The quarterback has carved up defenses with a strong arm and precise passing ability. As of today, he has thrown for 31 touchdowns so far this season, which is something straight out of a video game with those ridiculous stat lines. And lastly, Mayfield has led his team to the number 3 ranking in the nation. No one else on that Heisman list is even ranked in the top 8. Baker Mayfield has my vote.
When Carmelo Anthony was dealt to the Thunder back in September, it was the end of his 7-year reign as the King of the Garden. Going into this 2017-2018 season, all the pressure was put on 22-year-old Kristaps Porzingis to lead the Knicks, and he has gone above and beyond. For the season, Porzingis is averaging 30 points per game, second most in the NBA, 2.3 blocks per game, third most in the NBA, and 7 rebounds per game. Not only is Porzingis scoring at an elite level, but he's doing it at a crazy efficiency rate, shooting 51% from the field and 41% from behind the arc. Compared to last year, Porzingis has upped his PER from 18.5 to an outstanding 30.5, up there with LeBron James and Kevin Durant. With a 7-6 record and the 6th seed in the East, Porzingis is leading the Knicks to the playoffs and is proving himself as a true superstar in this league. The Knicks are 7-3 in their last 10 games and will look to continue their hot start going into Friday against the Raptors. That's going to wrap it up for our hot takes. When we come back, we're going to have our NFL segment questions.
Welcome back. I'm Kristen Dillon with this week's NFL report. With Week 11 approaching with the Steelers and Titans battling out and another Thursday night football game, it means only one more thing. We are more than halfway through the 2017-2018 NFL season. The crew at halftime at the Hudson thought it would be fun to do a mid-season awards segment, highlighting the best, the brightest, and thus far also the worst of the Cleveland Browns level awfulness in the NFL has to offer. Let's get started. At the midpoint, who do you guys have for your MVP this season? Roman, do you want to go first?
Reveal? Sure. So for my MVP, I have Carson Wentz. I think it cannot be overlooked what he has done for the Philadelphia Eagles. They are 8-1 currently. They're on a 7-game win streak. And I think it's always important that a quarterback gets the MVP, honestly. And around 2,000 passing yards. He's on track for 4,000 passing yards for the season, on top of 60% for completion. And then he has 23 touchdowns as well, on track to go over 40. So Carson Wentz is my take easily.
Paige?
I have to agree. I also took Carson Wentz for the same reasons as Roman, but also the Eagles last year were just a mediocre team, and he's completely put the team on their back and transformed the whole Eagles organization. They're now 8-1, leading the division, leading the conference. How can he not win MVP?
So moving on from the veterans of the league, who is your rookie of the year? Paige, you want to start?
Start us off.
Okay, so I took Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt. He's been killing it lately. He's second in the league for most rushing yards, but on top of that, he has over 300 receiving yards, which is completely not normal for a running back. So he's definitely a dual threat and has really helped the Chiefs win a bunch of games this season.
Definitely. I'm going to have to agree with her. I say Kareem Hunt as well. Not only is he the most impressive rookie, but he is the only player in the NFL to be averaging more than 100 rushing yards per game, and doing that as a rookie is just outstanding. Along with that, he's averaging 5.5 yards per carry, so he's almost getting 6 yards a carry. And the Chiefs are 6-3. They're number one. And I think on top of Alex Smith, Kareem Hunt as a rookie is a huge part of this, so I give him my rookie of the year.
I agree with you guys. I think a lot of people slept on him in the beginning when he was first drafted, but he's made quite the appearance. Moving on to the teams, who do you think is the most surprising thus far, both team and player? Roman, who do you got?
Good. I will start us off, and I'm going to say, unfortunately, the New York Jets, just because we all know Jets fans were disappointed because they wanted another good pick this year. But the Jets currently are 4-6. People thought they were only going to win 3 games the entire year. They already surpassed that mark. So I think that's definitely surprising. Josh McCown has been something else, being a 13-year veteran. I mean, he's been on 13 different teams in the league. The guy's 39 years old, and now all of a sudden, he's not an elite quarterback, but he's definitely respected quarterback at this point. And on top of that, Anderson has looked great. Bilal Powell has looked great for them. And the Jets are almost 500. I never thought I'd be saying that halfway through the season.
Paige?
So I took the New Orleans Saints. After an 0-2 start, most people were doubting Drew Brees and Sean Payton. They weren't sure if the Saints still had their magic anymore. But then they've gone on to win 7 straight games. They've also been relying heavily on a strong running game and their defense, which is very uncommon for the Saints. So I'm definitely surprised at how well the Saints have done after that poor start.
Going from the good to the bad, who do you guys have as the most disappointing team or player this season? Paige, who do you have?
So I'm going to take Broncos quarterback Trevor Siemian. The Broncos really don't have that many excuses for why they're doing bad. They have a really good defense. They have good weapons on offense. Trevor Siemian last year was an okay quarterback. Expectations were higher this year, and he just really hasn't met those expectations. So I'm sort of disappointed in his play.
Definitely. To go along with disappointment and expectations, I'm going with the New York Giants. 1-8, just absolutely atrocious. Nobody saw this coming. On top of the injuries to Odell Beckham and Brandon Marshall, the defense has just been absolutely horrible. They're 29 in yards allowed, and they're 28 in points allowed per game at 26.5. And I never thought that the Giants would be 1-8 halfway through the season, so they were definitely my disappointment.
Roman, you mentioned the injuries to the Giants, a lot of season-ending ones really early on. What would you guys say is the worst season-ending injury thus far? Roman, you want to start?
I'll start it off. I'm going to have to go with Deshaun Watson, even though if we're talking injuries, I have to throw Zach Miller in there because that was just gruesome. I was thinking about putting that one for my answer. But Deshaun Watson was just absolutely outstanding as a rookie, and I thought he was actually on track to beat Kareem Hunt as Rookie of the Year, but now I have Kareem Hunt, being that Deshaun Watson is injured. He has 1,700 yards and 19 touchdowns as a rookie quarterback, which what he did for the Houston Texans was absolutely amazing. His rehab is supposed to be 10 months, and I heard that this injury is actually worse than the one that he got in college. When he was at Clemson as a freshman, he actually tore his ACL as well. But this one is way worse, and you never like to see that as a rookie. So that will definitely be my worst injury out of all of them.
Paige, do you agree, disagree?
So I agree on both. I took the gruesome injury of Zach Miller. That was really hard to watch. But then just on skill, I had to take Deshaun Watson. He was on track to be the MVP. Even with J.J. Watt injured, who is arguably the best defensive player in the league, Watson kept winning games, and he did not look like a rookie out there. He was playing amazing.
So while injuries aren't fun, the NFL has become more fun this season with the lax rules for touchdown celebrations. So what is the best touchdown dance that you guys have seen?
Okay, so I took the Rock'em Sock'em Robots from the Lions. I thought that was just a classic. That was so funny, really well organized, and I mean, that's just like a classic game, so I loved it.
I definitely like that one, but I'm going to go with an underrated one not many people talked about, and that was Travis Kelce and the Kansas City Chiefs. He scored a touchdown, and he lined up in the end zone with Tyreek Hill and Demarcus Robinson, and they had a potato sack race. And Robinson and Hill actually ended up falling, and then they let Kelce win the potato sack race, and they celebrated. And I thought that was an awesome touchdown dance. I've never seen that before.
Nothing like an ode to our childhood. So before we go, we have to make fun at the Cleveland Browns. Do you guys think they're better or worse this year than last year?
The Browns, man.
It has to be rough being a Browns fan. I'd say they are worse. The Browns, they had 3 first-round picks with Deshaun Kaiser, Myles Garrett, and Jabril Peppers, and there just has to be hope at some point, and they're just never living up to that hope. Even when they tried to get A.J. McCarron, they somehow messed that up. I mean, if you can't make the trade properly, I just don't think you're improving at all as an organization.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they improved at all. I don't think they got better, but if I have to pick one, I'm going to say they got worse because they haven't won a game. They're 0-9. And I think the only shot that the Browns have at anything is if LeBron James and the Cavs split their time between basketball and football. You put LeBron at the wide receiver, you put Derrick Rose at running back, and that's the only chance they have just because nobody on this team can play football, to be honest with you. And they started off last season 0-14 and ended up winning a game. So at least they won a game last year. Right now they have no wins, so I'm going to say that they're worse.
Yeah.
That's all the questions we have for this week. There's still plenty of football remaining this season and opportunities for the Browns to at least win one game. When we come back, Alex and Dylan will be talking the NHL. Stay tuned.
Hello everyone, I'm Dylan Dunway alongside my partner Alex Rodriguez, and welcome to our NHL report.
It's been nearly a month and a half into the 2017-2018 NHL season, so there is a lot to discuss.
With Thanksgiving approaching next week, Alex and I came up with what the 3 hockey teams in the tri-state area should be thankful for this season thus far. Let's start with the New York Rangers. 8 games into the season, the Rangers were looking like one of the worst teams in the league with a 1-5-2 record. Fans are calling for Alain Vigneault to be fired from his head coach position, and for good reason. Since their abysmal start, however, the Blue Shirts have turned it around. Finally picking up key wins against stronger teams such as Tampa Bay, they are finding their stride and clawing their way out of the cellar of the Metropolitan Conference. The team should be thankful that their power play is firing at a strong 20.2%, which has kept them in games all season, especially against Columbus, where the team netted 3 power play goals. Only time will tell if the Rangers can keep up this pace or if they will regress back to how they were playing before.
There are two things to be thankful for if you're an Islander fan. First, the team should be thankful for starting off the season with a winning record. It wasn't like that in the beginning of last season, where the boys in blue and orange started last year off below 500 under Jack Capuano's management. Ever since Doug Waite took over as head coach in the middle of the 2016-2017 season, things have seemed to improve for the organization, and the Islanders now find themselves sitting 5th in the Metropolitan Division with a 9-6-2 record. Secondly, if you're from Long Island, here's something to be thankful for. The Isles are most likely leaving Barclays Center in the next few years, as the stadium wants to terminate their relationship with the Islanders. Ever since New York has left the Nassau Coliseum for the heart of Brooklyn in 2015, fans have been dissatisfied with their new home. Countless issues and complaints about obstructed view seating has created a horrendous environment for watching a game, and therefore, fans have stopped showing up, and it looks like as though the blue and orange will be playing in a new arena built specifically for hockey and Islander fans. That is something to be thankful for.
The new-look New Jersey Devils have shocked everyone starting this season, snagging second place in the Metropolitan Division despite having the least amount of games played. After tanking last season, they managed to acquire the first overall pick, Nico Hischier, who has bolstered their offense. The Devils also acquire Will Butcher, a top defensive prospect out of college who signed with the team over the summer. They are also seeing contributions from rookie Jesper Bratt, who has been hitting the scoresheet early and put up 13 points in his first 17 games of his young NHL career. The Devils have been electric by earning 24 points in the first 17 games. Having 2 games in hand, the only team close to them in the standings are the Columbus Blue Jackets. Comparing the lineup of this year from just 2 years ago, only a fraction of that team remains. The New Jersey Devils can be thankful for the management being able to somehow turn this franchise around from being one of the worst in the league to one that can contend with the best of them.
Lastly, since this is the month of November, which is famous for the phrase No Shave November, we thought it would be fun to look at the top 3 hockey looks of all time. Here's our list. Coming in at number 3 is Guy Lafleur. The Flower graced Canada with his presence in 1971, where he immediately found himself an identity. Sure, Lafleur had game when it came to his smooth skating and scoring touch, but what made him more special than the rest were those trademark wings on the side of his head, which seemed to fly with the same grace that he skated with.
Sandwich in at number 2 is Mike Ritchie. All we can say is that he rocked the flow that every skater had dreamed of ever having. With that sweet hair and his sensual, toothless smile, it became obvious that Ritchie belonged on the ice. He played for 3 different organizations before ending up with the Quebec Nordiques, who later became the Colorado Avalanche, and this is where Ritchie finally got his name and his mane engraved onto the Stanley Cup.
Does this even come as a surprise to you? In honor of his retirement at the end of this season, it is only appropriate for Jaromir Jagr to take number 1. Throughout his 27-year career, Jagr has made many different looks, but nothing could beat the mullet that he had when he was just a rookie with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Those were the days when the Penguins had him and Mario Lemieux, a great duo on the ice and in the hair salon as well. That's all we got this week. I'm Alex Rodriguez. He's Dylan Dunwoody. Back to Paige and Roman at the desk.
Welcome back. Now we're going to go over some games to watch. Roman, what do you have on your calendar this week?
This week, I have the Golden State Warriors taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder in a heated matchup between Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. Last time the two faced off a season ago, tensions were at an all-time high as the two exchanged words in an altercation. But the firepower of Golden State was too much for the Thunder to handle. With Paul George and Carmelo Anthony added to OKC in the offseason, it should be an even better game to watch. The game will be nationally televised on ESPN at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Who do you have in this game?
I mean, I circled this one too. I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be interesting to see, Kevin Durant, PG, and Melo versus Steph, Kevin Durant, and just like the whole Warriors lineup. The Warriors are still the best team in the East, so we'll have to see if the Thunder can compete.
Who do you have for your game?
So this week, we're representing our own Marist Red Foxes. Normally, the Marist Red Foxes play teams like Monmouth and Siena, so they don't usually compete with the big dogs of the college basketball world. But on Thursday, November 23rd, Thanksgiving, they will travel down to Orlando, Florida, and take on the 24th ranked team in the nation, the West Virginia Mountaineers. So before you stuff your face with turkey and pumpkin pie, make sure you get to a TV and watch this exciting matchup. Marist will be playing West Virginia in the Advocare Invitational. Last week, Marist forward Alexander Dojic stopped by the studio and gave us his thoughts before heading down to Florida. While Marist has young talent that can give a burst of energy, the team has a nice mix of veterans who understand the system and can give the team a nice balance on the court. While they drop their opener to Lehigh at home, the team has time to work out the jitters before they play the Mountaineers. The game is scheduled for 8:30 and will be broadcasted live on ESPN News. Roman, what do you think about this game?
I think it's an interesting game. I mean, West Virginia's ranked 24th. They have a good backcourt, so that's something I was not expecting going into the season. That is all we have for Halftime on the Hudson. I'm Roman Caffini.
I'm Paige Krikorian.
And we will see you guys next week.